I'm right in the middle of a bird count. We're in the Lincoln Park Zoo today, down Transect 2, and I'm identifying all birds that I see from here all the way down to North Avenue within 50 meters of the transect. We've been conducting bird counts in this area in Lincoln Park for the last few years, just at Nature Boardwalk. And then we kind of got to thinking like, well, how has this changed over time, you know? But our data set that we have for today is only from 2010, so we can't really look at those like long scale changes. So 2 years ago, my coworker, she at an antique store found this book, and it had a whole bunch of bird count information in Lincoln Park. 110 years ago, from 1898 to 1903, Herbert Walter and Alice Walter went out into the park and just walked around and identified what they could. And they wrote a very small book about this, titled Wild Birds in City Parks. It kind of functioned as a sort of field guide, just kind of brief descriptions of each species that they saw in the park. There was also information about the number of times each species was seen during every single year, so their comparative frequency, as well as their arrival dates. And so with those things in mind, we're able to kind of compare the frequency that we see birds today and the arrival dates of species today with what was seen 100 years ago. We start our days with birding generally between 6:30 and 8 in the morning. We're birding more often during times when we'd be seeing more species, which is something the Walters were also doing. So I counted, I think, 13 northern rough-winged swallows and 6 barn swallows in that group. Barn swallows, they have blue on their back and there's orange on their chest, and northern rough-winged swallows are brown on the back and then have a white chest. And then their noises, northern rough-wings go quack, and barn swallows make more of a chippity-chippity sort of regular bird noise. The really, really important thing about this study is that there's not many studies about bird migration, one in highly urban areas, and two, with such an older data set. So we have the opportunity to really, you know, kind of celebrate this area as a stopover site for migratory birds, and also really get to look at migration over a very, very long scale. I guess the really important take-home message that I feel this whole study is going to be showing is how important Lincoln Park is for migratory birds, and how great it is that Chicago has this wealth of habitat for birds to use while they're, you know, migrating from the neotropics all the way up to Canada. We're still seeing like huge amounts of species show up every single year. And so if you're at all interested in birds, you can show up right in the heart of Chicago and see like a wealth of species.
Street performing, or busking, is by no means a new happening. People have been performing in public places for tips in almost every major culture since ancient times. Even today, busking remains a popular technique. Here on Chicago's very own Michigan Avenue,
I stand still, completely still like a statue. I have to display my discipline. But people want me to perform, and I want to perform. So once I gather a crowd and they show me love, I start my performance. I'm the original Chicago 10-man, Kenneth Stringer III. I perform on Michigan and Ontario as a living statue that you turn on and bring to life. I was intrigued by this living statue I saw, and I guess it's kind of popular in Europe, but they have statues who just stand still, and crowds become enamored by these people who can just, you know, stand still. And it seemed like a challenge to me, but what I liked more was the people that were being enamored. I grew up in a military household. I was a military brat, so we moved around every 2-3 years. When I was in middle school, I used to get in trouble a lot. I was a class clown, okay? And I kept the students laughing, but the teachers were not. So I was on punishment a lot at home. I was grounded in my room, a bed, a dresser, and a clock radio. My parents took my TV, toys, Nintendo, PlayStation. My mom would come by and bring me crossword puzzles, but all I had was that clock radio and that mirror and myself for hours. So by the time I graduated high school, I had performance in me. I went to college shortly after that for a couple years and decided it wasn't for me. So I created an outfit and I went downtown It might have been about 30 degrees outside, but I wanted that feeling that I saw the other statue have. But what I had up my sleeve is I like to perform, so I had to stand still to get their attention, and then once I had it, I could perform. And I did that for like, I don't know, like an hour and a half. And the people were so like happy, everybody was laughing. I got cold, I went back to the car, and my fingers were numb. I was only out there for like an hour and a half, man. I was like, I can't go home. I warmed my hands back up. I went back out there. And so when I decided I'll probably never work again. That was 10 years ago. So that's who I am. I don't see it as work. I kind of see it as going to the park and playing basketball or hanging out with the other kids. I mean, if you think about it, that could be seen as work, but while you're doing it, it's not work, you're having fun. And you're not thinking about the amount of hours you're putting in, how much you're sweating. When you're a kid playing at the park, you don't think about the temperature. Oh my God, it's so hot. No, I'm having fun. I need to go chase whoever I was chasing or run away from whoever was chasing me. They don't think about it's so cold outside. That's something your parents think about. No, it's too cold. You're not thinking that. And neither am I when I'm out there performing.
First memory about skee-ball is I wasn't a huge fan because I couldn't get a lot of tickets. Because you wanted to get tickets to get the best prize, and skee-ball wasn't doing it for me. A lot of people don't really know what skee-ball is right off the bat, and the kind of go-to is you take them back to the Chuck E. Cheese reference, and then it clicks and they're like, oh yeah, skee-ball. But then they kind of aren't sure how to categorize that when you tell them that there's a league. Like how everybody wants to put it into, like, is it a bunch of nerds that are doing it, or like, it kind of sounds counterculture and not, you know, it's not baseball, it's not hockey, it's not, it sounds a little weird and dorky, and they're trying to categorize it, and there's some apprehension to that initially for everybody. Even myself, I was kind of questioning skee-ball. I don't know how that works. The idea of starting the skee-ball league came to me from a friend of mine from high school who played in college and starting leagues in North Carolina. So I had always heard of him talking about it, but the idea had never kind of crossed my mind to be involved with playing skee-ball or being a part of a league. And at that time I was starting to go with my own entrepreneurial path, and he suggested it, and I was intrigued by it. I thought it could work well here. It was proposed to me as a very small percentage of my time and a very easy way to make side change and income. Turned it out to completely engulf my entire life, and it started out being a job, and now it's more of a passion combined with job. And you know, really the big question mark now is how are we going to grow and expand? Yeah, be the president, the total Napoleon of skee-ball now. I think with me being a part of it is I'm super passionate about the community and making it something that people are really having a good time doing. I don't even know if my parents ever even talk about me. That's a great question. I've never even I think they say I'm a self-employed entrepreneur, probably. I don't know. And that probably means that all their friends think that I'm like homeless or living at home or something. No, that's a great question. I have no idea. They probably, I don't even know if they say I do skee-ball league. They might not. Let's go to the next question. I'm pretty proud of the fact that I run the skee-ball league, and I've got SKEEO on my business card, and every time I hand the card to a girl, they're usually into that and giggle, and great icebreaker. It hasn't paid off as much as I'm trying to say it has, but it's okay, it's not bad. I'm proud to say that I was the first person in Chicago on these machines to roll a perfect 900. Wow. And then I said, completely on accident, shots for everybody at the bar. And I'm like, oh my God, why did I do that? I do not have the kind of financials to do that. Luckily, only a couple people took me up on it. But that was a blur of a day.